important to a city. Like electricity or water, they are a part of the city's vital infrastructure. Their benefits can be measured and are many. Trees can improve your community's tax base, actively reduce both air and water pollution, improve children's health, and according to studies, even improve their ability to pay attention in school, thus improving their chances for success in life. There are countless benefits to the presence of trees and tree canopy. Trees can increase revenue for small businesses, strengthen relationships between residents and neighborhoods, and help improve where we live by impacting the temperature. Research shows that the benefits our community trees provide only increase with time and for decades to come. When a tree is planted, we all immediately begin to reap the benefits. In the urban environment where 80% of all Americans live, this investment is also a community investment that benefits all of us in so many ways we rarely think about. Join us as we explore how trees are a living investment. We'll travel to towns, cities, and parks to learn about the value of trees. On this journey, we'll meet citizens, community leaders, scientists, teachers, parents, and professionals, all who can attest to how community trees improve our lives.
I'm a research social scientist at the University of Washington in Seattle. I've been investigating business districts and what might a business district gain from planting trees. What's important when talking to local decision makers, government leaders, government staff within a city or county is economics. It's got to come down to the dollars and cents. We find repeatedly is that people in business districts, shoppers and customers, are telling us they will spend 9 to 12% more in places that have a quality urban forest. In the last 20 to 30 years, there have been many studies, very good scientific studies that tell us about air quality, water quality improvements, energy savings, all of these sorts of environmental services that are provided by trees. But in addition to that, and sometimes this is not quite as obvious to people, there are a lot of human services as well, and these happen or occur for individuals, they occur for neighborhoods, communities, and entire cities.
In terms of looking at how people care about their homes, their neighborhood, I think the trees add tremendously to that.
Many retailers recognize the value added to shopping districts that have healthy trees and canopy-lined streets.
I'm a small business owner, and I've owned this business for over 20 years. And it's basically retail business, jewelry, gifts, crafts. People love trees. They love to be in a green area. It's just very welcoming. It softens the harshness of the sun in the summer. We've just had a wonderful volunteer program here, trying to get more trees in the shopping district.
Trees are a vital part of thriving shopping districts all over the country.
By having the trees shading the pedestrians, you're giving them a comfortable environment. Not only is it good to look at, but you feel cooler on a hot day like it is today. We have found that generally people are in a much happier mood.
Studies have been done also that show people will linger for a longer period of time when there's a lot of greenery around. You know, when you get that foot traffic, you get people window shopping, you get people spending more time. Instead of just going in and grabbing what they need and leaving, you might get a lot of other economic opportunities from their increased presence at that place.
And that's the goal here, is to make our urban, suburban environment successful economically, and I think you need to do that by bringing the trees in.
I think that just in terms of the visual impact that a tree gives to a community, in terms of looking at how people care about their homes, their neighborhood, I think the trees add tremendously to that.
Well, in an urban environment that we're in, we're balancing a lot of goals, including redevelopment in our urban areas, making wise use of the infrastructure that already exists, balancing transit-oriented development and smart growth, all of those really sound development principles with the competing needs for open space, for recreation, and then the environmental health and quality to make it a livable community.
Research has shown that trees placed along roadways actually slow down traffic and create less aggressive driving behavior. Drivers are also more alert, and as a result, there are fewer traffic accidents in roadway areas with trees. Trees provide another unexpected benefit. Not only do they bring people a sense of calmness and tranquility, research shows that trees actually reduce the symptoms of attention deficit disorder in children.
They feel more calm, less stress when they're in that type of environment. And it's proven for children too. They have better attention spans. It's actually shown to reduce hyperactivity in children when they see trees and nature around them.
I work with a lot of kids who are diagnosed with ADHD, and I recommend a whole lot of things for them behaviorally. I'm always recommending other things like diet and exposure to nature and things like that for these kids.
What they have found, and again this is a national study, very carefully done science, they have found that children that spend a certain amount of time in outdoor activity in cities, this is not about going out to the natural lands beyond our city, this is about being in our parks and open spaces in our cities. But those children who spend a certain amount of time outdoors each week, their ADHD symptoms were reduced.
The studies show that if children viewing vegetation tended to have, versus not viewing vegetation, that have lower attention deficit, and the girls in particular tend to have higher learning abilities or higher scores on tests by having this ability to have the vegetation to see.
The presence of trees and greenery, or lack thereof, has a real impact, not only on where we live, but on how we live.
It may not be the vegetation itself, but the environment that the vegetation creates. So people go out and get to know your neighbors. So by getting to know your neighbors, you form a sense of community, therefore crime rates tend to drop down because people tend to watch out for each other.
Along those lines also, we feel that housing improvement is one aspect of a multi-faceted program to improve the community. We're very close to a very highly intense industrial area. Within half a mile here, we have a city landfill, a wastewater treatment plant, a power production plant, as well as others that generate a lot of traffic. The trees help us in terms of absorbing more pollutant from the air.
If you bring the community back together to plant the trees, they tend to form neighborhood groups and associations, get to know each other. So you tend to form a community. Instead of everybody being isolated in their house, there's an event around which people can come together and get to know your neighbors. So tree planting is one of these community events that people tend to like to do because they do want to improve their environment.
Because Miller likes to water trees. Miller likes to water trees. He likes to make the trees grow. Oh, don't you know?
Hey, well then I could say that it's because of the trees that I met my neighbors too. Because our backyard has no trees. So all of this nice play stuff for the kids we do in the front yard, and this fence that we put up in the front yard, because we're shaded with the tree. So because we're hanging out under this tree with our neighborhood bench here, all the kids come around and they all play in the yard, and I've met all my neighbors ever since we decided to come out front and be with the trees.
We plant it also in their backyard, so they'll have some shady spots for the kids to play in. And it's just really nice to have new homeowners so excited about their homes and the environment that is surrounding them.
Large, healthy trees increase property values. Increased property values mean more community revenue, better streets, parks, and other amenities.
There are many, many stories here in Baltimore how communities have used greening to improve their neighborhoods, quality of life, build community and synergy. in many cases even affect property values.
Typically in Delaware, we assume that anywhere from 15 to 20% of the home purchasing price can be impacted by the quality of landscape and trees within the neighborhood.
The owners of these homes, which the Habitat for Humanity helped come to fruition, really realized that adding trees to the homes will add value as those trees mature.
In addition to increasing the value of a home, properly placed trees near houses and buildings can save on heating and cooling costs. As few as 3 trees properly positioned around a house can save a household between $100 and $250 in energy costs.
From the standpoint of a developer putting trees back into the landscape, it's really a win-win. The opportunity to improve the appearance of the community improves the opportunity for selling of the homes much faster and at a better profit. What it does for residents is it gives them an opportunity to buy into a better designed neighborhood, a quality neighborhood, one that already had the first step taken to creating that sense of neighborhood and that sense of community that most folks are looking for today.
In addition to saving energy, trees reduce pollution and increase air quality. The larger the tree, the greater the benefits.
Studies are showing pretty much across the board, if you plant more trees in cities, you'll have better air quality. The state have to submit plans to the EPA of how they're going to meet the clean air regulations. The EPA has just announced last year through an emerging measures program that urban forestry or increase in tree canopy can be used under this program for partial credit within the SIP process to get credit for having cleaner air. Trees are one of the few mechanisms, at least in terms of air quality, that actively cleanse the air. All the other sources, which are very important, are at reducing emission at the source. So we have catalytic converters, we have scrubbers on smokestacks, which is very important. If a pollutant never gets out to the atmosphere, that's critical. Fact of the matter is, pollutants do get out. What do you do once it's out there? How do you clean it out? Trees offer an active surface because they're constantly exchanging gases that clean the air. So you need to have both the reduction of emissions and the source where it actually have active cleansing. So trees actually do both. They reduce emissions by lowering air temperature, but on the same side, they actually remove pollutants.
In Baltimore, for example, asthma is really very prevalent. They've got a huge number of missed school days by school children due to asthma, and part of that is because of the air quality problems.
During the daytime, again, you have this evaporative cooling. So the more leaves you have, the more surface upon which you have that cooling breeze coming in, which affects emissions. The cooler the air, the less emissions tend to go off. Also, particles are removed both at the branch and the leaf surfaces, besides the gases. Keeping the large trees being a tree maybe 30 inches in diameter, have 60 to 70 times more environmental benefits than a small tree less than 3 inches. So one tree does not equal one tree. A large tree is much more significant than a small tree.
Large shade trees are the best tree we can be planting for water quality.
Researchers at NASA have been studying an environmental phenomenon called the heat island effect, where cities draw in heat like a magnet, retaining that heat in built or concrete structures. The heat island effect actually changes weather conditions in and around the city and increases city temperatures substantially.
It's normally hotter in the city than it is out in the rural area at the same time of year or same time of day. So you've got this kind of heat bubble where there's all these built surfaces in the city, and that's what they call the urban heat island effect. Because that's really our goal, is to plant more trees in urban areas to mitigate the heat island effect.
Increasing temperatures in and around cities have been found to contribute to other negative weather events, many which can be dangerous. Researchers in Atlanta found that the heat island effect was triggering thunderstorms during the summer, which in many cases contributed to flooding. The heat island effect and these storms can be mitigated to some degree with increased canopy coverage. Trees begin paying us back from the moment we plant them. Unfortunately, the urban environment can be a harsh place for trees to grow. Only we can assure our trees are cared for properly. Trees help make our lives and the places we live, work, and play better. Trees need care as they grow in order to be as big and as beneficial as possible.
So that's why we get involved with trying to find funding to take care of trees, because the trees really belong to all the community, not just the one property owner. we all benefit from the trees. The first few years when we plant the tree is really critical to make sure the homeowners too are on board with it and are taking care of the tree and watering it. Planting really starts with the tree selection. You want the right tree in the right place so that it can grow to maturity. It needs to be properly located and not planted too deeply and properly mulched.
Ecologically, it's better to have a range of tree species. Then, in the event one type of tree gets sick or attacked by pests, you do not lose all of your trees.
Well, we want to make sure that we have a good diversity of trees so that we're not planting the same type of trees all over the city.
You need to maintain what you have, sustain the forest that you have, and keep the forest healthy. Because through time, trees, just like people, they get old, they tend to die, and they need care. We have a health system that takes care of people. We need a health system to take care of trees in order to keep them functional and healthy. If people plant the trees, planting with community involvement versus the city coming in and planting, the rates of survival are a lot higher when the community is involved in planting because they take a sense of ownership.
Non-governmental organizations are vital to our success, so we've got to find ways to get the job done. And the partnership really between federal, state, local, and private is the only way to accomplish this.
People take pride planting and caring for trees and their communities. There's a real sense of accomplishment when you plant a tree. You know you're really making a difference, doing something real, something significant, something lasting. A great reward in planting and caring for trees is people working together in community spirit that builds a pride of place and initiates other community improvement projects. What motivates communities to care for their trees is the formation of a shade tree commission or committee. Once this happens, residents are in a much better position to work in a leadership role to make a difference when it comes to the care of their community trees.
No one community is alike or the same. Their needs are always different. We can find commonalities across the board, but in the end, they're looking to create their own sense of ownership and build their own neighborhood.
We sit down with the community, we give them an assessment of what their canopy cover is, and then we review different strategies they can incorporate to try to enhance their canopy and manage their existing canopy. Then we make some recommendations on goals and just help them make an informed, reasonable choice as to what they should attain. The bottom line is more is better.
This is for the future because we probably won't see these trees, or I probably won't see these trees grow to the heights that they're capable of. But my grandchildren might benefit from any work that I've done, and I think that's just passing it on. And we are responsible for our environment. We are the owners.
Thank you for joining us as we traveled and explored how trees improve our lives, and for taking the time to listen to so many committed citizens and professionals attest to the value of trees. To learn more about the value of trees or how to best care for your living investment, contact your state urban and community forestry program. Each state has a state urban forester who oversees a staff of professionals committed to providing the resources, contacts, and technical expertise you will need to assure your trees live long, productive lives, and that your community tree planting investments continue. The U.S. Forest Service hosts an urban and community forestry program website, a great one-stop resource where you can find all the information you need and your state contact. na.fs.fed.us/urban. Thank you for all those who are planting and caring for the trees. You are making a difference.